Hey everybody. This week, this episode was supposed to come out on Saturday. It is now Monday afternoon while I'm recording it. Guess you could say I've got some issues. This week's issues have appeared upon the screen. I'm going to talk about some comic books that I read. I had so many comic books, it didn't fit in the template I made to put this stuff on in Photoshop. So I had to make the words smaller. I hope you all can read them. They're still pretty big. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Avengers number 5 by Jason Aaron, Paco Medina, and Ed McGuinness. Art by Juan Velasco, Mark Morales, and Carl Story, and David Curiel. Cover by Ed McGuinness, Mark Morales, and Jason Keith. Jesus Christ, how many people worked on this book? But yeah, there's some pretty fun stuff going on in this book. There's a bunch of dead Celestials that have fallen to Earth, and now a host of Celestials have arrived to avenge them. And there's some weird stuff going on with the origins of why Earth is such a weird place in the Marvel Universe, which is pretty fun. And shit's getting fucked up everywhere on Earth, and the Avengers are there to stop it. There's a really fun bit with Ghost Rider driving around with Captain America in the back of his car, as depicted on the cover here. Mostly what I'm excited about, though, is there's some genuine, really good, stupid comic book stuff going on in this issue. Namely, Thor and She-Hulk eat a magic egg that turns them into giants. Ghost Rider takes over the body of a dead Celestial, and of course Iron Man has his own giant armor so they can go fight Celestials in a great big field. You can see there's a little house and stuff. They're all giants in this panel, so I think this is going to be really fun going forward, because it's just classic, really dumb, goofy comic book stuff. Also, I feel like these drawings got Liefelded a little bit, because I noticed that Thor and She-Hulk, you can't see their feet. They're just hidden behind convenient hills, and that tickled me a little bit there. Next up, Cable number 159 by Lonnie Nadler and Jacob. That isn't even close to what this person's name is. Is it Lonnie Nadler or Nadler? I don't know. Lonnie Nadler, Zach Thompson. Art by Germán Peralta and Jesus Abertov. Cover by Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spencer. Mike Spicer. Jesus, I am really fucking this up. Anyway, I really like this cover because I like the retro X-Men designs on the front. It's nice to see that going on. I came into the middle of the storyline in Cable, but they are doing some really cool, Akira-like body horror stuff as the infection in Cable's arm is going haywire. That's not Cable there, that's somebody else, but really cool, ugly, gross body horror stuff that I really like a lot. So everything looks really nasty and painful, and yeah, I like it. Not a lot to say there, but I just wanted to point out how great I like this artwork. Next up, bada bing, The Life of Captain Marvel by Margaret Stoll. Art by Carlos Pacheco, Rafael Fonterez, Marcio Menez, and Marguerite Salvage. Cover by Julian Totino Tedesco. Good God. Doesn't nobody ever draw a comic book by themselves these days? There's so many people on 2 of these this week. Full disclosure, I don't know shit about Captain Marvel. I don't know anything about the character. I just know that there's a movie coming out soon, so I decided I'm going to read some of the Captain Marvel stories so I can be somewhat familiar with the character when the movie comes out. And this is actually, a fantastic comic book. I don't have any panels from it in here or anything, but I just had to check. I gave you a little preview of what I'm talking about next. It's Thor. But this book here serves as kind of an origin story for Carol Danvers, but not how she got her powers and her first adventures. It's more who she is as a person, and there's some really neat stuff going on where she's talking about her family and her abusive father, and there's no actual superheroics that go on in this issue. It's all just her dealing with a family emergency. And I really like that aspect of the character that they're going for here. Like, she's a person. So often when we look at superhero characters, they're just flying around in the air fighting monsters and stuff. But she's dealing with things that families have to deal with in this book, and it's very well written, and it's very cool. I highly recommend reading this good book. Please. I like it a lot. I think she flies like 3 times in the book. Like, that's all the superhero stuff that happens in it. It's really cool. Next up, Thor number 3 by Jason Aaron, marked by Mike Del Mundo and Marco D'Alfonso, cover by Mike Del Mundo. This run on Thor has been one of my favorite things in comics since I got back into reading comic books. The art is really beautiful, as you can see here from the cover. Thor is in hell with Loki and Tyr and Balder, and now Hela's down there. Thor brought his crazy murdering dog and his angry goat, and he's got a flying magical tugboat that he drives around in. And they're like coming up with this like crazy scheme to save the 9 realms from impending destruction that involves like a wedding, and like Thor's asking Loki to kill him for once, and there's all this goofy, silly shit going on. But it's all backed up by this like gorgeous, swirly, painted style artwork with these great colors. And there's like just so much like weight to everything. Like, everything looks really nice in this book. I love the art style in this, and as a matter of fact, this Mike Del Mundo guy is becoming one of my favorite comic book artists in the game right now, because I'm really just enjoying his stuff. And that's my panel of the week right here from Thor number 3, as Nidhogg is getting killed here. Just like the orange and the red of the fire, and the kind of weird magenta blood, and the green scales, and the lines going everywhere, and it's all broken up. Pretty much everywhere you look in these 2 panels, there's something very interesting to look at. And the art style isn't afraid to go cartoony either. They do things like little like brightly colored stars coming out of people's heads when they get hit, and like Nidhogg's eye is an X right there. This is such a fun book to read, and also it's a very fun book to look at. I really, really, really like this run on Thor so far. So read Thor, please. Read Thor. Next up, boom! Hellboy Volume 2, Wake the Devil by Mike Mignola. I was in high school when this came out. And so, I didn't have a lot of money to throw around and read comic books, and I can't remember if I remember reading Hellboy Volume 1, don't remember reading Hellboy Volume 2. And now as an adult, I am very much appreciating this, because as an adult, I've gotten into reading about, like occultism in the Third Reich, and how crazy Hitler was for, like, black magic and shit. And, like, not just Hitler, but, what's his name? His buddy. Goebbels? Goering? One of them was really into black magic. I forget which one. But Hitler was too. I'm also, like, learned about, like, Rasputin and the fall of, the Russian, the Russian, monarchy when all that took place. Very cool stuff. So this book kind of found me at, like, the right time in my life where, just some of history's weirdest stuff started happening. Now, I understand that Hellboy is fiction, and these are fictionalized versions of these people. But knowing the actual history is giving me more of an appreciation of this kind of thing. Of course, the artwork in this book is beautiful. It's wonderfully written. Here in Volume 2, finally the characters of Hellboy and his colleagues at the BRPD are kind of becoming more concrete. And Rasputin as a villain is fucking wonderful. There's this sequence at the end of the book that was actually written specifically for the collection, I believe, where the vanquished spirit of Rasputin goes to the Baba Yaga, and he just kind of vacillates between rage and despair and wonder and just wanting revenge. The whole sequence is very slow and sad and chilling. And I really can't wait to pick up Volume 3 and read some more Hellboy, because I'm getting the impression from reading Hellboy right now that it is going to be one of those comics that greatly inspires and changes me as a person, because it's perfectly done. But I don't need to tell you guys that. Everybody's read Hellboy except for me, apparently. Hellboy is good. Next up on my list is Invader Zim, volumes 1 through 3. I have read all 3 of them. Invader Zim's a weird thing. Invader Zim, volumes 1 through 3, by mostly written by Jonan Vasquez and Eric Truhar, and some other indie comic people come in and write some things on it. Art by a whole bunch of different people. I'll be talking about a specific artist here in a minute, but a lot of things change in this one, because a lot of webcomic artists and indie comic artists do art in this book. So I'm not going to list them all, because we already talked about there's 17 artists and shit on the Avengers book, so I don't need to go into details on Invader Zim. But Invader Zim's kind of a weird thing for me. A lot of people my age and around my age that are into cartoons and comic books, and I know there's not a lot of it on my YouTube channel, but I do some drawing myself. We were all really into Invader Zim when we were teenagers. And a lot of people like myself were kind of keeping that a secret, because the Invader Zim fan base is fucking crazy and horrible. So I don't like to admit that I like Invader Zim, but I'm a big fan of Invader Zim. It's an incredibly funny show. It's got a really great visual style. I like Jonan Vasquez's art. I was excited when there were comic books coming out. And full disclosure, I've read most of the first 7 issues of the comic book as they were released. But I reread them and then kept reading the newer ones that I haven't read this time. But yeah, a lot of the comics of Invader Zim really hit the tone of the show really well. And they do it without a whole lot of fan base pandering, which is nice. It's not surprising to me, because Jonan Vasquez has shown in the past that he has somewhat of a disdain for his fans and doesn't like to accommodate them. So that's nice about the book, is it's not just more of the same shit. It's more stories about Zim that fits the show. Some issues work better than others, but they're short and they've all got really nice artwork, so they're fun to look at if they're not as fun to read sometimes. The really big complaint that I have is that Gur, Invader Zim's fucked up crazy robot, does not work in a comic book. It made me realize that just reading his lines on a piece of paper are not funny. But 90% of the charm of that character was Ricky Simon's delivery and yelling and screaming in his crazy high-pitched voice. But really, that's a mild complaint. There's also a lot of cover art by Jonan Vasquez in this, and it's always really nice to see more art by Jonan Vasquez. Best chapter so far was issue number 6. Written by Casey Green, who does some of the best webcomics out there. Look up Casey Green and read everything he's ever done. I've known Casey for a very long time, and his stuff is great. This chapter in particular has a gag in it that when I first read it a couple years ago, when the comic book actually came out, I gasped and started laughing out loud, and I mentioned it to him on Twitter, and he told me that he was surprised he got away with it. So, genuinely, there is some fun, weird shit that happens in this comic. And you guys should also read Invader Zim, the comic book about a mean alien. Then there's this other comic book that I read. It's called Isola, or Iola, or Isola. I'm not sure what it's called. It's Isola. I have no idea how to pronounce it. But this is a fantasy story. It's about it's kind of a post-apocalypse thing, because there's like some modern looking stuff going on in it, but it's all kind of medieval weaponry and stuff like that. I'm not sure what tech level they're at in Isola, but there's a lot of magic and nature and stuff like that. But it's a fantasy story about a knight who is trying to lead her queen to a mystical land called Iola or Isola or Isola or whatever. I'm gonna say Iola. I like that better. Iola. But the queen was turned into a blue tiger, and we don't really know why yet, or what that means for them. Well, there's a little bit of an explanation in the 4th book, but yeah, I'm really enjoying this. This artwork, this comic has some really gorgeous art. There's a lot of pages where there's either no dialogue or dialogue that isn't written in English script. And so a lot of the artwork has to do some heavy lifting. The expressions on the characters, this like moody colors and lighting and fog and stuff like that. It's more than anything that's making me want to read more of this book, because it looks really nice. There's a lot of like good fantasy mystery going on in the in the story. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying to see issue 5 and where that goes. And speaking of what I'm looking forward to, there's comics that I'm looking forward to next week that I forgot to put covers for. I was going to mention that. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new Punisher issue comes out next week. You'll hear me talk about that. Iron Man showed up in the last Punisher, and I want to watch Frank Castle fight the Iron Man. Old Man Logan is coming out next week. I want to see some more fights with I want to see more of Wolverine running around fighting Bullseye. Also, the new issue of Saga finally comes out next week, and it ended on a huge cliffhanger last time, and I want to see what happened. I've been foaming at the mouth wanting to see what happened. So yeah, that's the end of the show. Hello everybody, I'm Samuel K on Twitter, samuelk@gmail.com. If you want to get in touch with me and talk to me about comic books, if you want me to read your favorite comic book, I'm always taking recommendations. Again, I'm a Marvel fanboy. I don't read anything that DC does, but if you want me to read a DC comic and you think that I would enjoy it, send me the title, send me some issues, and tell me what's been going on in the story so I can get caught up. I'm more than willing to read just about anything. I'm a big Justice League and Batman fan from the cartoon shows when I was a kid, but I just don't really like DC comics. But I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to read them. But yeah, that's the end of my show. Samuel K has issues. You can contact me whenever you want. And I'll see you next week. I need a sign-off line for this show. I might have come up with one in a previous episode and forgot to write it down. But that's the end. Goodbye, everyone. Oh, wait. No, shit. I forgot. The music that I'm listening to is a Taiwanese band called Self Kill, and they do some really nice instrumental music, and their videos are weird because it's mostly just like people going to the store and like walking around in crowds and stuff. I like their videos too. So yeah, listen to Taiwanese ambient rock music from a band called Self Kill. Thank you very much. Goodbye. I'm stopping recording now. Hello.